At my stepdaughter Ashley's wedding, I was seated at the kids' table. Tom, my husband, whispered, "Don't take offense. You're an outsider, after all." I smiled and replied, "I understand, dear." I left an hour later. They called in panic, begging me to come back and fix the event, but it was too late. I was sitting in a taxi, watching raindrops slide down the window and checking my phone for the 100th time. 37 missed calls. Tom, Sarah, my mother-in-law, Ashley. I put my phone on silent and tucked it into a small black Prada purse he had given me for my last birthday, perhaps as an attempt to make up for yet another humiliation at a family dinner, where his sister had accidentally spilled wine on me. "Where to?" the taxi driver asked, glancing in the rearview mirror. I named John F. Kennedy Airport. The rain drummed against the car roof, creating a cozy background noise that emphasized the whirlwind in my soul. "Are you traveling far?" the driver asked, trying to make conversation. "To Bali. I've been dreaming about it for a long time," I replied, surprised at the calmness in my voice. The driver let out a whistle. "Great choice. Is your husband joining you later?" I glanced at my platinum wedding band with its small diamond. Tom had always been practical. "No, this trip is just for me." My thoughts drifted back to events that had unfolded barely 2 hours earlier, the wedding I had spent 6 long months planning, the moment that turned my life upside down. The countryside estate in the Hamptons glowed with festive lights. Colorful garlands stretched between trees glimmered in the lake waters. Picture perfect. The guests had all arrived, the ceremony had gone flawlessly, and the most enjoyable part was beginning. The reception. I had stayed behind a few moments to check the final details with the staff. The champagne had to be exactly 12 degrees Celsius, neither warmer nor colder. The fresh flowers on the tables needed a light misting to keep them looking dewy. The lighting had to be adjusted. Warm, but not too yellow so that everyone would look youthful and vibrant in photographs. When I finally entered the banquet hall, it was buzzing with excitement. Guests were moving between tables, congratulating the newlyweds, and clinking glasses. I searched for Tom, hoping to sit next to him at the head table. "Mrs. Henderson, everyone's been looking for you." The event manager in a sharp suit with a badge came up to me. Now, for some reason, he looked at me with slight hesitation. "Yes, sorry. I got held up with the preparations. Where's my husband?" "Mr. Henderson is at the head table with the bride's parents and his own parents. Your seat is—" He hesitated briefly. "There." Steve pointed to the far corner of the hall, where a small table stood adorned with balloons and cartoon characters. Around it sat children of various ages. "I'm sorry, there must be some mistake," I said, feeling a lump rise in my throat. No, it's correct." Steve double-checked the seating chart. "You're at table 9. Table 9. The kids' table. For me, the stepmother of the bride and the organizer of this entire wedding, a seat with preschoolers and grade schoolers had been assigned. I made my way to the head table, where Tom was chatting animatedly with his ex-wife, Ashley's mother. Elizabeth, an elegant blonde in her 50s, always looked as though she had stepped straight off the cover of Vogue. Now she was laughing at something Tom had said, her laughter ringing like a silver bell. When I approached, the conversation died abruptly. "Tom, can I have a word?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He apologized to his conversation partner and stepped aside, his face showing a mix of guilt and irritation. "What is it, Margaret? Why were you late? The ceremony was wonderful. It's a shame you missed it." "I was late because I was ensuring everything for the reception was ready," I said, taking a deep breath to steady my voice. "Tom, why am I seated at the kids' table?" He winced slightly and glanced around, as if afraid someone might overhear. "Darling, don't start, okay? This is Ashley's day. Let's not make a scene." "I'm not making a scene. I just want to understand why the bride's stepmother, who's organized this whole wedding, has been seated with children while all the other adults are together." Tom sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose, a gesture he often made when he was nervous. "You see," Elizabeth insisted, he said, nodding toward his ex-wife. "She wanted only the closest family to sit at the head table. So I'm not considered close family?" My voice took on an icy tone. "You know what I mean. They wanted it to be only blood relatives," he said, almost whispering the last words. "Blood relatives," I repeated, feeling each word cut into me like a sharp blade. "Margaret, don't take it personally. You know how stressed Ashley was about all the planning. Elizabeth decided this would be best so things would go smoothly. You're still, well, an outsider. Outsider. 5 years of marriage, hundreds of shared dinners, holidays, and trips, 6 exhausting months of planning this wedding, nearly $50,000 of my own money spent on making this day perfect. And I was an outsider. Somewhere deep down, I had always known I would never fully belong to their world. But hearing it spoken aloud by my own husband, here, at the wedding I orchestrated and funded, was too much. "I see," I said after a pause. "I don't want to ruin Ashley's day. I'll just go say hi to some of our mutual friends." Tom exhaled with relief. "Thank you for understanding." He kissed me on the cheek and returned to the table to rejoin his ex-wife and parents. I slowly let my gaze sweep across the hall. The luxurious white tablecloths I had sourced from a specialty Italian textile shop, the crystal glasses imported from France, the floral arrangements crafted by the city's top florists, all of it had been planned and approved by me over months. At the head table sat Ashley and her groom, Tom, his ex-wife, his parents, and the groom's parents. They were smiling, toasting, taking pictures. The perfect family. Without me. I approached the bar and asked for a glass of champagne. The bartender, a young man in a stylish vest, smiled and said, "Of course, Mrs. Henderson. Brut as usual." He knew my preferences. I had personally conducted all the tastings for this wedding. "Thank you, Jake," I replied, taking the glass and sipping. My gaze fell again on the table prepared for me. The kids were making noise, throwing bread rolls, while an older boy was building a tower out of appetizers. "Mrs. Henderson, is everything all right?" Steve, the event manager, appeared beside me. "Yes, just admiring the work. Everything is exactly as I planned." "The guests are thrilled." He nodded. "They say they've never seen anything like it before. The menu, especially the trout with white mushroom sauce, is a hit." "I'm glad." I smiled. "Steve, what about Plan B? Is it ready?" Steve tensed slightly. "Plan B?" We had discussed an emergency plan to wrap up the event quickly if necessary. "Yes, of course, but do you think it's needed? Everything is going smoothly?" "Just checking. In our line of work, we must be prepared for anything." I finished the champagne and placed the glass on a passing waiter's tray. Then I took out my phone and called my assistant. "Linda, hi. How are things at the office?" "Margaret? Everything's fine, but aren't you at the wedding? Did something happen?" "No, everything is great. Listen, remember that Singapore offer we talked about?" There was a pause on the other end. "Yes, of course. They wanted you to lead their Asian division, but you declined. Have they found anyone yet?" As far as I know, no. The position is still open. Margaret, what are you planning? Call them back. Tell them I've changed my mind and am ready to discuss terms. Also, start preparing the papers to sell my share in the agency. I know Tom has long wanted to buy out the entire business. What? Wait, are you serious? Right now? Right now. There will never be a better moment. I hung up and sent a short message to my lawyer. 9 a.m. tomorrow. Need to discuss a divorce. Then I approached Steve. Plan B is activated. Proceed according to the scheme. He nodded and whispered something into his radio. Within minutes, the music softened, the lights dimmed slightly, and the staff began moving a bit faster, creating a subtle sense that the evening was coming to a close. I headed up to my suite on the hotel's top floor. It was supposed to be the setting for Ashley and her new husband's first night as a married couple. I had booked this room half a year ago. Now it would serve my purpose. I took out the suitcase I had packed in advance from the cabinet. Spare clothes, documents, credit cards in my maiden name. Everything needed for a fresh start. I called the front desk to request a taxi in an hour. I removed the sea green evening gown I had chosen for this day and changed into a sleek business suit. I placed my jewelry into its case. Everything except my wedding ring. I left it on the bedside table along with a short note. Tom, you're right. I am indeed an outsider. I won't interfere with your perfect family any longer. You'll receive the papers from the lawyer tomorrow. You can buy out the agency at the price we discussed earlier. Margaret. There was a quiet knock on the door. It was Steve. The guests have started leaving. Elizabeth and her family have already gone. Tom was asking about you. Thank you, Steve. Make sure everything wraps up smoothly. Send me the final report as usual. Of course, Mrs. Henderson. Best of luck to you. I looked around the room one last time. The city sparkled outside the window, just like it always did. But today, everything seemed different. 5 years of life were ending here in this luxurious suite, amidst the white flowers and champagne. A message from Linda popped up on my phone. Singapore is thrilled. They're expecting you for negotiations next week. I'm starting the paperwork for the sale in the morning. The notification about the taxi's arrival followed soon after. I picked up my suitcase and left, gently closing the door behind me. The corridor was quiet. Only muted music floated up from the wedding below, which I had orchestrated. In the elevator, I caught my reflection in the mirror. A 40-year-old woman in a perfectly tailored suit, standing tall with a slight smile. An outsider. The doorman opened the door for me, holding an umbrella. It had started to rain. The taxi was waiting outside. To the airport, I told the driver. As the car pulled away, I didn't look back. 5 years of trying to fit in had come to an end. Ahead lay Singapore, a new life, and freedom from the expectations of others. My phone buzzed, an incoming call from Tom. I hit decline and turned off the phone. The rain intensified, blurring the city lights. The perfect weather for new beginnings. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.